Okay, so this is the second edition of the Meet the Players series. This time we'll be taking a look at Void playing Valerion. And you want to start us off with your race and your class?
Yeah, hello. I'm Void and I'm playing Valerion, and he's a lesser Aasimar and a Paladin.
Okay. And for the lesser ASMR race, you want to go over what you had to give up to be able to take that?
Yes, well, normally, as an Aasimar, you're like an outsider. That means like you can't get banished or like immune to certain spells that you would be affected as a humanoid. But since it has a level adjustment, I couldn't take that race. And like prospect yeah, basically allowed that we could play it already starting with first level and dropping that ability. I could play an Aasimar otherwise, and that is what you still get is a dark vision 60 feet, resistance to acid 5, cold 5, and electricity 5, aura of good. No, that's Paladin stuff. But you also get +2 to charisma and +2 to wisdom. So overall, oh yes, and you can cast daylight, which we saw last session with Insa.
Hmm.
And it's obviously pretty powerful for Paladin.
Yeah. Okay, so since you're a paladin, you want to go talk about why I chose to be a paladin?
Yes, like in the last campaign we played, I played a druid, but one of my favorite character types is like the crusader or paladin style. That means like heavy armor with sword and shield, and preferably immunity to fear, so that you can be like badass, stand in front of the monsters, and even if you don't have the highest damage in the game, and I'm sure people will complain that paladin might be pretty shitty. Like I think if you optimize it properly and like tweak it, you can get quite a lot of mileage out of that class as well.
All right, and do you have any past experience with playing the paladin class?
In 3.5, no, this is the first time. I mean, I've DM'd like a ton of D&D already, so I played like Paladin NPCs, but and like in Vampire or in 13th Age I played one, and I played the Crusader already, but not the vanilla Paladin out of the Player's Handbook.
Okay. Speaking about your history of DMing, you want to go over your history with D&D or just tabletop games in general, so we all get a background on you?
Yeah, sure. I like started already, I think like fifth or sixth grade, and it was like since I'm from Germany, it was like the Black Eye or some system like that, and we played that for a couple of years, and then moved on to more sophisticated stuff, namely Vampire. We tried like Vampire the Masquerade, and I think after that came already Dungeons and Dragons, like the third edition. It came out like in 2000 or something. Yeah, that's the first time I played Dungeons and Dragons 3.0 in a guest session, and then like 3.5, and I had a group for 3.5, which I DM'd, and I also played like Vampire in the on the side. But like eventually the D&D became more and more background, and I just played Vampire mainly for many years to come. Like it basically was what we played through college.
Okay, so what brought you back to D&D?
Like we started playing it online again with a couple friends. Like I introduced them, they never heard of roleplay before, and they actually became aware of it due to some prominent streamers playing it. And we tried it out, and like that's when I DM'd a 3.5 campaign, and it was actually really awesome. And since then, I think that was a couple years ago, and since then we are like regular role players. Like apart from a few when a new video game comes out that takes all our attention, we actually play pretty regularly.
Okay. So let's go back to your character for a little bit. So you're starting from Chesenta. Do you want to talk about why you chose Chesenta particularly?
Yes, there are two reasons for that. The one is that the Aasimar are like pretty likely there, or it's like I think there's an Aasimar population, so I figured, well, that's kind of fine. And the other one is I wanted to have the breastplate as a starter item.
Yeah,
Since I don't know anything else about Faroon's setting, and I knew it was in the south. I mean, I just like I don't know. I could have went like Sword Coast or so, or classic Baldur's Gate stuff, but I don't know.
okay.
Just sent this.
And do you want to run over your character's backstory? Because I know you've put quite a bit of time into it.
Well, yes, I did put some time into it. Well, basically, Valerion was born and grew up in Chicenta, like in a little village in the Riders to the Sky, which is like, even though like it's marked as mountains on the map, it's actually more like hills. And my character, he Yes, he's actually the son of a solar angel. That's why his Asimar marks are like little feathers on the shoulders of the backside, which he's trying to hide because, you know, like Asimar kind of, a lot of people are racists, and I think like there's a lot of Asimar haters even in Chesenta. And he's the son of a a set of a solar angel, but the mother is mortal, and she's a mason's widow. The solar angel itself, Valerion doesn't know much about his father in that sense, and like actually Natha does his mother. She was already a widow when the angel just walked through as a wanderer. Maybe he wanted to show some mercy or give her like a son to help her out on the farmlands or whatnot, or local townsfolk or something to survive because her husband, the mason, has died tragically, and that actually happened. She did give birth to Valerion, who then grew up to actually make a living for her, or both of them. Like already from young age on, he helped like the townsfolk. It was like a small village up there, like with farming. Like he did some stone cutting. That's where his physical abilities, like strength and stamina, were built up. And he actually kept doing that till his mother, who slowly became of age, like started to fade away and eventually just died of old age. But Valerion didn't want to like stay there in this little town or village. He always felt destined for greater. He felt a bit like an outsider. He tried to hide that he was an Aasimar, but obviously since it was a like small village, the word got around eventually. And while people were kind of open and friendly to him, like it didn't satisfy. He just always felt there's more out there. And since in Chesanta, there are a lot of riding mercenary bands, like that's where he basically made his next stop to earn a living. He joined like the mercenary club, or like a mercenary gang or whatever you want to call that. And since he had the physique to power it, like he learned to fight a bit with weapons and eventually made a little salary or pay and traveled through Chesanta, doing work here, there for hire, like raiding a bit, fending off against the marauding orcs or bandits, these kind of things, since Chesenta's kind of dangerous in that sense. The next step in his career was like the group of mercenaries who he worked for, like always withdrew to the help or to get healing or support of a hermit, like a cleric of Tyr named Odysseus. And he basically Tyr isn't that big of a deal in Chesenta. So the cleric was kind of an outsider. He tried to found like a new hope or bastion, or maybe he like escaped his old lands. No one really knows why he lives on his own, but he still has a noble heart. And even though he doesn't approve that much of mercenary duty, he needs to make a living. So he kind of like gets paid by mercenaries and helps them out there on the Great Plains in his little house or hut. Odysseus actually started to talk to Valerion. Like he noticed, like Valerion, since he has like this high charisma, you know, he always stands a bit out, and he's also a bit of a diplomatic character. You noticed it, like under the mercenaries, like well, a lot of them were just like fighting, or I don't know, were in it all for the money. He tried to also solve things peacefully first. Maybe that's because of his solar angel origins. But eventually, Odysseus actually like singled him out and talked to him a bit, and over the course of the like several conversations they had in the like over the time span of a year or two, every couple months, like he basically convinced the young lad, who was like I guess in his early 20s at that age, to basically go on the path of righteousness and justice. Like he told about Tyr, who had like the maimed hand, and like what he did and how he values justice above everything, and there's so much wrong in the world. And since he found out that Valerion was a Aasimar, he felt like that this would be a prime candidate to walk the road of the Paladin. And eventually, like Valerion, he kind of listened to the old man, like he also felt like no longer at home with the mercenaries. So when he met Insa, that is Sterto's character, in Simbar, like when his gang of mercenaries, they rode through and like were in a local tavern, when he met this other woman, she was blind, but like she told enthralling or enchanting stories of the southern magical lands. And he kind of, like he really got intrigued there. Kind of felt, all right, it's time to move on. Like mercenary life, it was kind of okay, but it was too rough and it was too much driven by greed. In the words of Orisa, it's just still rang in his ears. And he decided to pick up the path of Tyr and like maybe find more about his origin or his father, who he never heard and even his mother didn't know much about. So that's when he traveled south. He didn't, like the first time actually, he used the Divine Smite or Smite Evil ability that was in the last session, or in the first session we played, where he basically smite that evil slave, where he was like, whoa, actually there's really support of Tyr, so maybe he is singled out and there's purpose. And since then, like, I tried to play him. Currently he's still a bit I don't know what the word is, like brass or something, where you just like he's a little ruffian, but eventually my plan is to, depending on how long this character lives, if he lives long enough, I want to turn him into this like heavy plated basically justice angel, I currently had planned, or I planned to max diplomacy, but after we played those 2 sessions, I now noticed that, I don't know, it doesn't fit that much, so I want to move like my diplomacy points to sense motive, so I want to level diplomacy and sense motive at half each, so I think it fits a bit better. And yeah, and I'll see where Valerion is gonna go on his way to become an, well, semi-angel of justice.
All right, well, on that note, let's run through your character sheet for a little bit so everyone at home can get an idea of what Valerian's light stat-wise. Unfortunately, we don't have a link to a Mythweaver's page, so we'll just run through this and you all can just follow along. Starting off, he has hit points of 19, so that's not too bad. An armor class of 18, most of that is from that Chisentan breastplate, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. 2 from the shield and 1 from Dex.
His equipment is, let's see here, a +1 flaming scimitar and a longsword. That scimitar pops up what will be when this video comes out, next week's footage or audio recording. So that's a little bit of a sneak peek into the future of the game. Looking more particularly at the skills, as you mentioned, you had a lot of diplomacy and sense motive. You're going to try to change those around. What you also have, I noticed looking through it, was a pretty nice ride check on there. Do you intend to really start using the mount for the Paladin?
Yes, absolutely. That's actually one of the cornerstones. Everyone trash talks the Paladin, but when he actually gets a proper mount, or like can get, for example, a direwolf, I think he can get really, really strong or overpowered. The lance, I basically have power attack. It's my only feat. I have to give up the second feat due to being a lesser Aasimar. But like the ride, apart from being part of his background story, of course, as a riding mercenary in Chisenta, like I intend to fully utilize the Celestial Mount. That is like charge into battle with a lance and power attack. And since like a lance deals double damage, and if I have like the eventually like at level 9, so that's a long way down the road, but when I get the spirited charge, like basically the lance attack deals triple damage. And then when I call a power attack, like the lance can be wielded with one hand on a horse, but it's still like a 2-handed weapon. That means you still get the 2 times bonus from power attack. So since you also get triple damage and 2 times the bonus, like each point you can allocate for power attack and like deal 6 points of damage. So you can really inflate the damage numbers up there. And the mount is actually also pretty smart. And that's something I really like, with the druid, you kind of normally wave it under the hand that he has the pet, but a pet is normally not that smart. It can attack you a little bit, but the paladin's mount is like really smart and has like high armor class. With mounted combat, you can make it defend, but you really have to make sure that it doesn't die, otherwise you lose your attack roll, -1 to attack rolls for a month or until level up or something like that. Or and saving throws, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it'll be good to finally see someone else do a lot of damage apart from our mage before he starts hitting the really high damage spells.
Yeah, but I gotta say, like, since I have a flaming scimitar now, like my damage is actually really good. I guess it's kind of funny because a +1 flaming scimitar is a lot of money, isn't it? Like 8,000 or something like that. But if you look at the actual numbers, it's basically just the damage of a greatsword, so it's actually not that big of a deal.
Actually, looking through the magic item compendium, which is where I got all the stats for all this, a +1 weapon is a 2,000 gold piece cost on top of a masterwork weapon. So actually, it's not that expensive. It's still a low-level magical item in terms of
Yeah, but
cost.
the flaming is equal to a +1 bonus. So it's like bonus squared times 2,000. So with a +2 bonus, it should be 8,000, no? 2 times 2 is 4 times 2,000 is 8,000.
Yeah, well, I might have been doing it wrong for a very long time.
Well,
but
I'm doing it wrong. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I got also a bit out of it. I mean, I even played my detect evil wrong, since it's like a spell-like ability. I don't have to talk or do any gestures or something. I just have to concentrate for it to work. But it was nice flavor in the last session, so whatever, it's fine.
We're not too worried about rules here. We made a pretty clear warning at the very beginning. We're all just having a good time. It's not looking for perfection. Though, if anyone that does listen to this, apart from the 3 subscribers we have right now, which I'm one of them, I do encourage people in the comments to put a little annotation saying, no, both of you are wrong and idiots. And if you look at this page on the Dungeon Master's Guide, you'll see that you're doing it completely incorrect. If any of you feel like doing that, I would very much appreciate that, because I'd like to stop being such a schmuck when it comes to this game. All right, and getting back to the actual interview, apart from that, one of the things I wanted to address is, compared to the other characters, you get a little bit more into yours than them. Is that because you think your background with the games?
I don't know. Like, I don't want to basically say I get more into them than, like, you mean than the other players into their characters?
Yeah, when I mean, like, just listening to the recordings afterwards, the players will occasionally drop into a voice for their character, or they'll talk in the third person, as in, like, you know, and then Garzvog is going to do this. And occasionally Rizzy does get into Garzvog's voice, but you especially are consistently talking through Valerion's voice, as I've seen. Is that because you think your background with DMing, or?
Yeah, I think, like, one, that I play RPG like really, really long already. I mean, I'm over 30 now, so I basically have how many years? Let me think. like 18 years or so. So I did play a lot. I mean, obviously, like, German is my first language, so it's not perfect. And especially when I DM or GM, that's like the thing that's the most annoying. When you, like, GM in a foreign language and you, like, lack the colorful words, that's a bit annoying. But yeah, I definitely try to get into my characters, and like, especially like a character like Valerion. I mean, I don't know. I just like these Crusaders in heavy armor. It's great. It's great. Not too smart paladins.
Actually, for everyone at home, I don't know if they would have picked this up or not. Yeah, you are foreign and you're from Germany. Do you want to give them a little idea where in Germany, if you're comfortable with that?
Yes, I'm actually southern Germany, like from Bavaria, or like Franconia, and, well, to be precise, like the city of Erlangen. So yes.
And you have phenomenal English compared to people I even know.
But thanks.
I would say it's really good. I mean, I took years and years of Latin, and I don't remember anything from it. So you've done exceptionally well, in my view.
Well, that's high praise. Thanks a lot.
All right, and the last little bit of business for this interview is your thoughts on the campaign right now. Any changes you'd like to see, or things you're hoping to see in the future?
Let me think. Like, at the moment, I definitely like. The last session was a bit short. That was something. But otherwise, I like that we basically went away from the grid like that we had in the first session. It's just, I don't know, because the imagination is always better than what you can draw on a grid. I mean, we also, like, even in my DM campaign, like, I drew a lot. Like, I have players who definitely, they always want, yeah, come on, draw something. But yeah, we didn't then do a grid either, but more like, you know, with little dots and arrows where people go and whatnot, but not like tile precise, which the 3-5 system actually promotes. But yeah, we didn't have that. But overall, yeah, that's something I like. I like that I like the setting a lot. That it's the desert, you know. Since I'm a Crusader fan, I like the Crusade kind of thing, which took place Jerusalem, the desert, that thing. And yeah, otherwise, I'm looking forward to where it's going now. I hope that it will stay freeform and not too linear. Like, for example, can I talk about that? About last session? Are you gonna up this video like after that, or
this will go up this weekend? But I can always put a little disclaimer that it's going to come up. And considering the amount of people watching, I'm not too concerned that someone's going to be upset because of spoilers.
All right, cool. Yeah, what I think should be great, or would be great, if it's not too railroady. Like that means like at least the illusion of full freedom is there. Like when you wanted to take the boat, it was noticeable that you as a DM were not that comfortable with the idea that we would do it with a boat. And I would like definitely appreciate if it's like you don't give a hint like maybe don't take the boat, take the thingy. You know, that's kind of something I would really like. So that feels like full freedom, even if there's like clear goals. Because I'm a paladin. I think what quest you do, like with a paladin, you always have it easy because you just show something. And it's pretty predictable how the party, or at least one guy, will react. So they're a nice like plot puller, but still, illusion of freedom is always great because that's what makes RPG so amazing compared to like video games with the full freedom.
And I try to stay away from that as much as possible, but for the people at home, the reason I was trying to do that is I'm trying to get the co-DMs I have with me a little bit more involved. And to do that, I need to give them a clear setting and goal in mind. And unfortunately, by doing that, I have to try to make sure that the players stay within a certain area so that the co-DMs can get an idea of where they need to set up and what they need to build. So once we get beyond that, we should be fine. Go back to freeform, good games like that. But
Sweet.
I think that's just about it, unless you want to say anything else.
No, I'm having a blast. I really enjoy the RPGing. It's cool, like especially with Americans. Like has been ages since I played with Americans, like, and that only in video games, but never like RPG. So it's definitely a nice experience, and it's fun. And I'm looking forward to more games. And hopefully this channel will grow, and eventually, even though there's professional competition out there, it will become like at least a couple fans who enjoy that.
Oh yeah,
like you put
definitely.
into it.
Okay, so that's Valerion. Next week it should be Dareto or Rock. We might try to get Dareto since it would go along pretty well with Valerion's backstory. But until then, this is the Fables and Tales channel, and we hope we'll see you around.